Welcome to Hunt Harvest Health, the podcast, with your host, Ryan Lampers, aka the Stealthy Hunter.
Howdy.
And myself, Dr. Hillary Lampers, where we share our love for ancestral living and the health topics of the modern age. Ryan is the well-rounded bearded brawn of Hunt Harvest Health. His knowledge of backcountry adventure, western hunting, and our household status as garden guru and super dad really defines our gut stealthy lifestyle.
Doc Hillary is definitely the brains and beauty behind all of this. She kind of makes everything happen, as I have zero technical skills. Hill is just a wealth of knowledge in all things medicine and nutrition, which not only keep our family healthy, but they help me stay strong in all my mountain adventures.
You can follow us at huntharvesthealth.com, Instagram, and Facebook for more podcasts, recipes, and stories.
All right, let's do this.
Hello, everybody in Hunt Harvest Healthland. This is Dr. Hillary. Today, I'm here to introduce another podcast, one of our great friends, Abe Henderson from alaskadiy.com. He has, I'm trying to think if he has been on our podcast before. I don't think Abe has. Ryan has actually been on his podcast, the Alaska DIY podcast. I think Ryan was his very first episode. So he has a long format podcast, which is actually really good. It's funny. He's got all kinds of hunting stuff on there, as well as family stuff, relation stuff. His wife has done the podcast with him, Jess, and they are quite a unique family. We first met them, I don't know, I'm trying to think back how long it was. Ryan met Abe first. And Abe had been following Ryan on social media, and Abe is one of these really outgoing, friendly guys, and he reached out to Ryan and wanted Ryan to do a podcast with him, and then he came to our house and spent like a whole evening and night. They podcasted into the early hours of the morning, and we just got to know him, and then we got to know his family and his 5 kiddos. They're really an amazing family. I think over a year ago, they decided Abe lost his job, and they were wondering what they wanted to do. And I think it was one of those things where they were like, well, why not do what we want to do? And they had originally lived in Alaska. I think Abe had guided up there before. And they decided to leave Washington and head up in a trailer with their 5 kids. And Abe got a job working up there on Sitka as a guide. So they've had an interesting journey. I follow them on Instagram. Abe is at Alaska DIY, and his wife is also on there as Hen Fam. And it's just about their adventures of traveling around Alaska. It's fun to watch them with their kids. They're like on fishing trips, and they're camping in Fred Meyer parking lots. And it's just kind of that lifestyle that I think a lot of us think about when we have regular jobs and lives. And it would be fun to just take off in a trailer and live that life. But they've got some good podcasts. Jess is on there, and they actually talk a lot about their relationship, and they talk about a lot of personal stuff as well as, you know, this experience. And so I would highly recommend tuning in to their podcast, Alaska DIY. The website, again, is huntalaskadiy.com. Don't forget the hunt. I tend to do that. And on there, you're going to also find that new Kodiak Sitka Blacktail guide that Abe has put out, which is super cool because it's going to help you basically plan your hunt for a Sitka deer hunt, which, if you don't want to get a guide and you want to do it yourself, this is a great way to do it. So you can check out that guide there. We also wanted to thank everybody who took part in the Homesteading Summit real quick with Melissa K. Norris from Pioneering Today. That was a big project that Ryan and I did to be part of that. And we just felt fortunate that she asked us to be a part of an amazing group of people around the country who are homesteading. And we've had so much amazing feedback from that. And I mean, I've just been getting emails from people that, you know, were not part of our platform before, didn't know who we were, and watched our video on dehydrated foods for the backcountry. just sending us emails like, wow, I never knew that I could do this with the food that I'm cooking and take it into the hills for hiking, camping, hunting. So we just feel really fortunate that everybody got so much benefit out of it. You can still purchase it if you want. You can go to our website. There'll be a link there or in the show notes here. And you can still purchase the whole thing and keep it and watch it. And it's videos, so that's what's really nice. Like people presenting and showing. We show exactly what we do. I think it's $147 now. I think if you had bought it a couple weeks ago, it was much cheaper. But if you're still interested in that and you want to be more, speaking of DIY, you want to do more DIY stuff around your house, you want to learn about your land, you want to learn about your animals, foods, herbs, natural products, it's pretty cool. So Melissa's done a great job with that homesteading summit. And we just wanted to thank everybody. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this podcast. It's kind of a long one today, but that's how Abe rolls. They like these long format podcasts. If you have any comments, please leave them. If you feel like you have the time to leave a review on iTunes, that would be greatly appreciated. And of course, we always love to hear back from you on any topics, podcast topics, or things you'd like us to share. All right, everybody, enjoy.
Yeah, straight.
Okay.
Which, check this out.
I
bought
super hot.
That Zoom H6.
Yeah. This?
Yeah, and it came and the mic jack doesn't work.
No way.
Yeah.
That's
and
no
so
good.
I'm running the straight, the Shure mics, not the headsets. So I don't have. I just roll blind. I just watch the levels, and it's been okay, but it hasn't been great. Not as good as being able to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to have, I guess we had some cheaper headsets and like a mic sitting right in front of us, and it was okay, but for me, it didn't work because I tend to slouch, lean back. I don't project, which I've been told I need to project more 1,000 times by Doc over there.
And not slouch.
But
not too stiff.
This last week, we had a guy out to the house, Josh, Hardwick Mountain Fit, and we did this little mace workout, and he was like working on my posture and stuff like that, and it seemed like a pretty easy little workout, but I was like, my neck was stiff and sore because I was working on my posture, which is so horrible, and just that, like he had me leaning up against the garage door and just putting my arms back and like sucking in my stomach, and just that, it hurt. And it seemed like it was the most simple thing, but it hurt, and it's still like I just feel out of whack. So I know my posture sucks.
Dude, I have terrible posture.
It's constant battle for me.
Ever since grade school, I think I've been slouching in a chair.
I wonder if it has to do with a backpack.
It's got to be part of it for sure. When you get tired and you're packing a heavy load and you just kind of like slouch and lean into the straps.
You do. I know. I dig my thumbs in under my straps and I lean into it, and it's like, I don't know. It's got to have something to do with it.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's get this thing started.
Okay, that means I got to get off my phone.
I have not seen so much social media work.
I'm just trying.
In this last hour, I've seen more of that from everyone here.
It doesn't mean it's good. Okay, phone's
all
off.
Your stuff is good,
Phone's
Babe.
off.
I've seen it.
I try, man. It's all amateur, everything. But hey, getting out there and trying is what it's all about.
That it is. You got me beat because I did my first Insta story today.
Did you?
Well, it was on my story, but my wife did it. I'll admit it. She pushed the button. She was holding the phone, and she got it. she did something with it and put it out there. But I'm still, as much as I've dove into social media, I'm still fighting like the latest trends, which is Insta story, I think.
My buddy Trevor was like, you should do stories. I'm like, what are stories? This was like a couple months ago. I didn't even really. I'd seen them before on other people's pages, but I didn't really know why people did them.
No, they're effective. I
Yeah.
watch them all the time now. I actually watch those more than I look at any photos.
Do you?
But all right, so we are in Boise, getting ready to kind of go hit up the BHA. So we've got a lot of little talks to listen to and good people to talk with and meet up with down here. And fortunately, it's like all these cool kids show up at BHA. Last year it was in Missoula, and this year it's in Boise. But today we have Mr. Abe Henderson on the podcast. How you doing, Abe?
Dude, I'm doing so good. You're not. Are you saying that I'm a cool kid? Is that? Or are you lumping me in that category?
Oh yeah, you've been in there since I met
whatever. I'm just another guy, man. I feel like I come in all the cool kids are here, and I'm like, oh hey, I recognize him.
No, you were cool when I met you, but you even got more elevated because you've done something that a lot of us have wanted to do, and we just have not done, and that's take the big step of moving to Alaska with the whole family.
Yes.
So if that's not cool, I don't know what is.
Well, yeah, it is cool. Like, it's been something that we've talked about for 10 years. So it's not something that just happened overnight. That's for sure. It's something that we have. There was a point recently even that I wondered if we would ever make the move, even though we'd been talking about it for so long and like really seriously talking about it.
Yeah.
It was just the timing never seemed right. You know, the kids were young. We had family, friends. We owned a house. Now we own 2 houses in Washington State, where we moved to Alaska from, that we're renting out. And there's like all this life gets complicated.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to make a break. And so I actually got laid off from my job, and that was kind of the impetus for that whole thing. Was like I was thinking, man, one of these days I got to figure out a plan so I can eventually quit my job and do this, make this dream happen that we've been talking about for a decade now.
So Alaska has always been the dream.
Always.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like junior high age, I would nerd out on reading like Outdoor Life and Field Stream magazines. Sports Afield, all those. And Alaska to me was like this magical place that was on the other end of the world that someday I knew I had to get to and check out.
Right.
And that just stuck with me for a long time. And then I got a chance to go. Jess and I spent a summer up there in Homer, Alaska, on the south end of the Kenai Peninsula. Kind of a working vacation, and that was 10 years ago. And that's when we came back from that. And the plan was to come back and sell our house and turn around and move back up there because we just loved it so much.
Right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then life happened. Life happened.
So you got a pretty good job down here. Did you say it was like a corporate job?
It was very corporate.
I just don't even see you in that realm.
Yeah, yeah. I have tattoos up and down my arms, on the back of my hands. Luckily, I went through like 3 rounds of phone interviews, so they were fairly committed when they flew me down to California to do like a full day, 8-hour interview.
Holy
I had a very corporate job for a very cool company actually. It didn't do anything for my soul. But it did a lot to put food on the table for the family, and
lucrative for a while.
Yeah, it was good for sure.
So what would have happened if that job would not have gone away?
Dude, that is such a good question. So I'm a Tim Ferriss fan.
Okay.
To start with, and I'm just saying that because when I say what I'm about to say, people are going to be like, "Oh, that sounds like Tim Ferriss." And I started journaling 3 weeks before I got laid off. I started journaling every morning. 3 things I was really grateful for, and 3 things that would make today great. It's just kind of a way to get up before the kids got up and kind of set the tone for the day before I kind of went off into hectic life. 3 weeks before I got laid off, I started writing down like, I want to quit my job. Like today would be great if I could quit my job. And there was no plan in place or anything like that. And like I have the notes in a book, like folded up on a piece of paper. It was, I think, less than 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden I walk into work one day. My boss is at the door, pulls me into a conference room. His boss is sitting there, and it was just like, here's your papers kind of a thing, And it was all on good terms, and everything was cool. It was just big downsizing. But I kind of wonder how I think I could have stuck it out a long time and wondered if I would ever have the courage to quit or figure out a plan, because it's one thing when something happens to you, you have to react. You have to figure it out. But when everything's going good and you're kind of stuck in that rut, it's hard to think about how am I going to do something different and actually take the action steps necessary to start to create a plan and get yourself into, out of that rut and into something that you want to do.
Right.
That's a hard thing.
Yeah, and it had to be complicated because I think you liked the place that you were in, like living-wise.
Yeah.
Middle of Washington.
Yeah,
middle of the state.
Yeah. Very centrally located. Family was 2 hours away, which was like perfect. See them anytime we wanted to.
Yeah.
But we had some breathing room. We could do our own thing. Mountains were an hour and a half away.
No traffic.
No traffic. Zero traffic.
Duck hunting was very close, right?
Duck hunting was close. Fishing was close.
I have a semi-idea of where you were, and that's kind of like the bird hunting mecca over there. So.
Yeah, that's why we moved there, actually.
Yeah, that was it.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we liked the place, and we just bought a log house on 40 acres with a couple of shops, just a cool property, very private, and we loved it.
Yeah.
It was a fixer-upper, and so we thought we were there for 10 years at least, just raise the kids.
That's interesting that you were writing that down every morning.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they laid you off.
Yeah.
And was that like the first thing you thought of when you're driving home from that day?
No.
Were you scared, worried, or was it just like...
No, I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
So I got a small severance, nothing crazy, but enough to where I knew I had a little bit of time to figure out what to do next. And Alaska was not the first thing. I don't even know if that I thought of Alaska at all for a while. And even though this was my childhood dream,
Sure.
went home and Jessica, my wife, was actually the one who was like, "Hey, we should move to Alaska."
And I buy that because she's one of the coolest gals ever.
She's pretty.
I've had opportunity to hang out with Jess, and she's awesome.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
I
mean,
see
what?
that for her.
Okay, just for any of you guys out there listening to this conversation, it's like this is a true, 100% factually true story. I wasn't ready to start thinking about moving to Alaska, and she was like, "We should move to Alaska."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, we have such a good thing going here. Like, we got friends, we got family. I mean, we had some very dear friends in the basin, the Columbia Basin there." Who we had grown to love over the last few years. And we just felt like we were home. Like we had this sense of community and family and place in that region.
Right.
And it felt great. And I was just like, man, we've done so much here.
Yeah.
And she was right. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, see, she got elevated to super cool status too. Because how many wives with something like that happening are just like, let's just take that giant plunge and move to Alaska of all places.
Yeah. Well, she got bit by the bug 10 years ago.
Yeah, sounded like it. I mean, that was in your plans originally anyway, so.
Yeah, after that summer in Homer. But she was already super cool status.
She was.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Way cooler than me. She's a stay-at-home mom of 5 kids.
And it's not just you two either.
Oh, yeah. No way.
Very complicated with the 5 kids as well.
Yeah.
So big risk. You headed up there.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the plan?
Yeah, so the first thing that we did was she's like, well, at least, like, I used to guide a few years before. I had started guiding, and we were still living in Washington, so I was going back and forth. I was gone spring and fall for months at a time. And the reason I quit and got that corporate job was we had twins. And so I knew I couldn't leave Jess behind with the twins and diapers and to deal with 5 kids total. I knew I had to take some time off, right? So she said, hey, we'll at least text some of your contacts up there and see if they have any work for you for guiding this fall,
Right.
So I said, okay. Text my buddy, one of the guys that I've kept up with on social media. The last time we had guided together was in 2012, and we just, since then he had started his own outfitting business and grown at a really quickly to a full operation. Shot him a text, and he was just like, I think 5 minutes later he had like a full season worth of dates he sent back, and I was just like, holy crap. Like, that's a lot of work.
That had to be a weight off your shoulders immediately, right?
Yeah, immediately. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is very doable. Like, I can actually, I was thinking, I'm going to be a corporate guy, or I'm going to be like, I thought I had my run at guiding in the Alaska thing, and now it was time to be practical.
Right.
Right. And all of a sudden it was just like, no way, this is
opportunity
really
to live
happening.
that dream again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it didn't take long after that to to commit to it
I'll
and get the house ready and the property ready to rent out, and just a full summer of banging away on the house and buying a travel trailer and going through mountains of stuff. Oh my gosh, 5 kids, the stuff accumulates.
I can imagine. I've got 2, and I know how much stuff accumulates. I can't think of 5 kids. Holy smokes, that's a pile of stuff.
It's a lot.
But so you guys are in the Anchorage area, and you've gone through a season of guiding up there. How did it go? Like, how did everything work out? Like, I'm sure with everybody, there's probably a lot of people out there that want that dream, the dream that you're living right now, right? Thought about, maybe they're younger or whatever, but the dream of just dropping what you have here and taking up a guiding job in a place like Alaska. I mean, that's, especially for young guys, that's what my dream was. When I was young and prior to meeting my wife and all that, it was go to Alaska, and I did it, but I was fishing, and hunting just never quite happened. Hunting was something I did back home, but I can't say that it wouldn't have happened if I would have stuck it out and stayed going. The only problem with me is I had a family business here. I had some obligations here and whatnot, but it's hard to shake Alaska once you've been there and you've seen it and you see all the opportunity for a guy that loves mountains and sport and fishing and hunting and all those things. It's a hard place to be. So how did the season go? Like, what was your first trip of the year?
Yeah, my first hunt was a moose hunt, horseback moose hunt, actually. And it was like, Ryan, look, anytime you change life and do something significant, it takes work. It takes a lot of effort. But one thing I'll say about this whole experience is, even though I've put in a lot of hours working on the house and getting ready to move up here and then guiding, it's like long days and whatever, it has felt effortless. It has felt so easy. And one of the things that Jess and I, my wife and I, we talk about is following the magic. And I just feel like when we're true to ourselves and we're on the path that's right for us, like the hard work doesn't feel like hard work anymore. And that's how this whole experience has felt for us as a family. So yeah, we moved up here in August, landed in Alaska, and I think 4 days after we got here, I was headed out into the field.
Wow.
So we bought just to back
on
up
a moose
briefly,
hunt,
on a horseback moose hunt. So, but briefly, like the way that we moved up here was we bought a 27-foot travel trailer, pulled it behind our excursion, and just took about a week to drive to Alaska with the kiddos. When we got to Alaska, we had friends in Anchorage from our college days, like 15 years ago. It was the last time we'd spent any time together, but they also have 5 kids, and we just headed off right away. And so Jess immediately had people that she knew here, and she dropped me off to go off on this moose hunt. And for the next 2.5 months, I think it was, she pulled that trailer all around the Kenai Peninsula, fishing with the kids and hanging out and camping by herself. It was amazing.
Wow.
So the moose hunt that I went on when I got here was a horseback moose hunt into some phenomenal country where we saw brown bears and black bears every day, sheep every day, moose it was just game-rich country.
Yeah.
Very cool hunt. And the horse thing, I grew up with horses, but I've never been a fan of them because it's like, what do you do with them while you're hunting? And I've never been into hunting from horseback.
Sure.
And this guy in Alaska who had these horses, these things were mountain climbing fools. And actually, most of them were mules, I should say that. For people who know horses and mules, that makes a difference, I think.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe
I don't know horses, by the way. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know llamas. I do not know horses.
Yeah, I learned a few things. I came off the front end of the horse once, coming down a mountain by myself. I learned some things on that one.
Yeah.
I guess mules don't have that bump in the front, the withers. So when you're going down a hill, the saddle will just slide right up their neck. I'm speaking from experience. Will slide right up their neck and force their head down until you just go right over the top.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
So, but these mules and horses were amazing, man. And getting around in that country, jumping over logs, down in the spruce bogs and stuff, and climbing mountains. And
right.
It was crazy.
Huh. Nice.
But we had a good hunt.
So, what came after that? I mean, a lot of moose hunts, caribou. Was
No.
it kind of all species, or?
Yeah. I missed sheep season. That was in August when we were still getting ready to come up. So we did the moose hunt, and then immediately went to the peninsula for a brown bear hunt. And so we got a moose for a mother-daughter hunt. That was actually a pretty neat deal to see, a mother and her, mid-20s daughter out there on Alaska, like a once-in-a-lifetime dream hunt. And here's the coolest thing about this, Ryan. The daughter bought it for her mother.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Wow.
I was blown away by that story.
So the mother had the tag.
The mother had the tag.
Yeah.
Shot the moose.
Awesome.
So that was a very cool deal.
A lot of the hunts that you guys are doing, are those, a lot of the clients that come in, is that more of a lifetime type hunt for most guys, or is that not the norm?
It's a pretty good mix. Some of them you'll get the once-in-a-lifetime hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what you said before, though, is that once you go to Alaska once and experience it, it's like you want to go back.
For sure.
And so for a lot of people, they come back.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other hunts are guys who, they do a guided hunt or two every year. And we definitely get those clients. It's a pretty good mix.
Yeah.
And that's the way the guy on the Peninsula brown bear hunt was. He did a couple guided hunts a year.
So I see you kind of ventured into a variety of things. I saw a lot of photos from you this year, which was super cool. You were taking some great pics, and I saw a lot of sea ducks. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the sea duck hunting was amazing. The guy that I work for, Jeremy Roosink, he bought a sea duck hunting outfit last summer, and so this was our first season doing it. And I came in, and I love waterfowl hunting, super duck nerd. And he said, "Yeah, I might have some waterfowl hunts for you this winter, And it ended up.
I guess if you got to move away from the Columbia Basin.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? Now I got to figure out how to get back because I got bit by the collecting bug.
Oh yeah.
Because there's all these different species to collect.
Yeah.
As when I lived in the Columbia Basin, it was like, let's shoot greenheads, like let's shoot a limit of mallards. That was the end all be all of waterfowl hunting, and now it's like, let's get a pair of everything.
Right.
Right. But I got to do those sea duck hunts and running the boat and shooting these gorgeous birds.
So what's a typical day of sea duck hunting look like?
Well, like in mid-December, like you get up around 7, get on the water around 9.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh. That schedule compared to like August and September hunting is so
day, right?
easy.
Literally.
Put the boat in the water and we just spend all day on the water. And we hunt them like it's like big game hunting. I love it. So a lot of times we'll set up with deeks in the morning.
Okay.
First hour or two, and then sea ducks are different, man. Once that first morning flight's done, they're kind of done flying.
Gotcha.
And so after that, we'll just cruise around with binoculars. We'll look for birds like trophy birds, and then we'll put the sneak on them with the skull boat and slip in on them.
Really?
It's just spot and stock hunting for ducks.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It sounds like everybody that's doing it is loving it.
Oh, my gosh.
It's just a totally unique experience. I have yet to do it. It's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
Along with a lot of other Alaska hunts.
Yeah, man. When are you going to come up?
I don't know. Man, I mean, we almost committed this year. We were supposed to do a moose hunt this year. And one thing led to another, and the drainage I wanted to go into, I did not quite get there quick enough. So I kind of lost that spot. But that is something that's on the list for next year. We're definitely going to do that, and I'm going to do that with Joey, my cousin.
Who's not here?
He is not here.
He'll just roll their eyes.
He was supposed to be here at the BHA, but he got bit by the antler bug, and lo and behold, he bagged out on us, that dirty bugger. But no. So we're going to do that. There's going to be 3 of us going up and finally taking the plunge and doing a hunt in Alaska. And then, of course, the next bucket list hunt up in Alaska is the Kodiak thing, which is, we've been wanting to do that. And we talked to you quite a bit prior to you going up there about wanting to do the Kodiak blacktail thing. Mm-hmm. That's another hunt that's been, talked about. And I don't even know for how many years we've talked about doing that. 2 things, though. The time of year, we want to do it in August. Business-wise, that can be tough for us. That's been one of the things holding us back. And then I'd say the other thing holding us back was just not knowing anybody up there, researching it. It was a little intimidating. Mm-hmm. So you came out with a pretty cool guide. It's been out there for few weeks now.
Not long.
Yeah.
Month and a half, I think.
So that was kind of cool because we got to dig through. You sent me that. I got to dig through it and look at pretty much A to Z on how you tackle a blacktail Kodiak deer hunt. So maybe talk about the guide. Why did you even come up with it?
No, yeah. So first of all, thanks. Thanks for letting me talk about it a little bit, I guess. I got buddies back home who always wanted to hunt in Alaska.
Yeah, me.
I mean, a lot of guys. In fact,
Yeah.
most guys who hunt, it's like that's a dream of theirs.
So do you find, like myself, that the biggest factor is just intimidation?
That's
Like
what I've heard from people.
It's a big chunk to chew on.
Yeah, intimidation, confusion. The biggest response that I've gotten, since I started guiding and then talking to guys, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're a guide in Alaska? I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to hunt Alaska." And my question would always be like, "Cool, like when are you? What's your plans?
Mm-hmm.
When are you going?" And the typical response is like, "Oh, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to start planning a hunt in Alaska." And I just thought, like, I'm not an expert in this stuff. Alaska's a huge state with, almost a dozen big game species.
Right.
But I thought, okay, I can do a Kodiak blacktail hunt. Like I can easily put together a plan, or a guide that would help guys plan their hunts on Kodiak. That's a good starting place. And so, I got off this guide season. I thought I'm going to do something about this. I'll sit down. And it took me several weeks to really go through all the information and crank it out. But the idea is that somebody who has never been to Alaska and doesn't even know how to start thinking about hunting in Alaska, here is a hunt that you can literally go through the guide, and I think that in about 2 hours you can plan your hunt at a high level.
Right.
And I wrote it in a way that I really wanted to, like, I know how I think. I don't know how other people think, but I know, like, me, when I research something, I get flooded with information. I do all this research, and then I get, I start to second guess myself when I start to make decisions. I get overwhelmed by the amount of information, the amount of decisions there are.
Especially if you hit what I found, like one roadblock where you're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And that will like throw me off track, and I'll kind of forget about it for a while.
Stalls the whole
It does.
process.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, so I just thought, like, okay, how can I write this in a way to give like a real fast track, or just a really easy way to just go through and plan the hunt with confidence. So that's how I wrote it. It's a written thing. It's online, but you go through and you just kind of start with chapter 1 and you go through. And there's pull out action steps. It's like, do this now. And I give you the information to make those decisions and to do those tasks like as you need it. And so I tried not to make it a fire hose. Like, here's all the information. Okay, go off and do, here it is. Like, go plan your hunt. It's more like step by step, like choose your own adventure or something like that. It's like one decision at a time, and this leads to that. With the hopes that somebody who has always wanted to do a hunt in Alaska can take this and actually make that dream that they've pushed back from year to year as a someday, like a quote unquote, someday I'll do that.
Sure.
That they can actually pick up that guide and make it happen. They can make it happen next year,
Yeah, and I think that what that does is, well, it kind of screws me because now I have no excuses. It's all like right there and easy. I guess now it's just about the pocketbook.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's cool about that is once you really dig in, and which I did your guide, and I kind of checked out everything. Really, that's like a super affordable hunt.
It's like an out-of-state elk hunt.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that intimidating.
Yeah, and that's the fly-out deal. I mean, that's a really, really cool experience. One of the reasons I did the Sitka Blacktail guide on Kodiak was, one, I was very familiar with it. Haven't spent a lot of time on Kodiak before. And two, it's like the perfect first-time hunt in Alaska.
Right.
For a guy who's never been to Alaska before. For, Kodiak are a deer species, so you're hunting deer, it's super familiar. All the meat you're going to get off a Kodiak buck, you can put in a box and you can take it home with you. It's not a moose. You don't have hundreds of pounds of meat in a huge rack that is going to cost you a lot of money and a lot of logistical issues to figure out how to get home or how to, get rid of, give away some of the meat, or, all those things come into play.
Right.
And for guys who maybe aren't familiar with that, that's a very large, like, part of the hunt planning, the logistics planning, and very expensive if you haven't looked into ship flying meat home. So
Yeah, I looked into it this year when we were planning that moose hunt, and it's shocking. Trying to get out of that for, under $5,000 that's tough.
yeah.
Like, it's going to cost about that. I think no matter how you slice it. Am I
Yep.
right? Or
Yeah.
seems like
5 plus.
that would be
that's on the low end, I would say.
cheap to get it for $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cutting corners in every way.
Yeah.
And trying to listen to people that have done it on a budget to the best of their ability, and it seems like that was the number that you could not go under.
Yeah.
So,
No, as a quick aside, I want to hear more about your hunt planner for the moose hunt.
yeah,
Yeah. So maybe after this we can get back on and
absolutely
talk more about that.
Definitely,
Because I want to come out with a moose guide probably next year.
So you're gonna roll with this probably,
No.
and just keep
Yeah.
making it easy for guys like me that are looking at these new hunts
Yep.
and looking to venture out. And
Yeah. So real quick, just so everybody knows, I do the cost breakdown on this Kodiak Sitka Blacktail Guide as one of the early chapters. And just so if anybody's out there is wondering who doesn't have that in front of them, you can do it for about $1,500. I mean, that's kind of like the low end, and that's shoestring, and that's like you're cutting corners like you said.
right,
But I show you how to cut those corners, and I show you which ones to cut and which ones not to cut, so you don't end up paying more by the time your hunt's over because those weren't the correct corners to cut, you know what I mean? Or
Sure.
it wasn't the right place to save money. So I give a ton of advice about how to do that. So my hope is that it's just a very approachable, very easy to use tool for guys, just average guys who love hunting who want to go to Alaska.
yeah,
And I just want to see, for me, it kills me. It's like I feel very fortunate in life to be in a place where I am living my dream on a day-to-day basis. And to me, I'm getting goosebumps right now just saying that because I can't tell you how grateful I am to be living my dream in life,
Yeah.
and doing it and making it work.
right,
And it's like, yeah, it's still scary. Yeah, it's, it still feels crazy sometimes and there's struggles, but that's something that's very, very special to me. And I just want that, that's something that anybody, I feel like, who can do, it's like, I'm not special, I'm not anybody who's got anything that, the guy next to me doesn't have. It's like, I just feel very fortunate, and I also made certain decisions along the way that got me here.
sure.
Mostly fortunate, mostly I married the right woman.
Well, I was going to say you married the right woman.
Yeah.
First off.
So I just want to say that, there's nothing standing in your way, for any listeners who have always dreamed of hunting Alaska. There's nothing standing in your way to get there. You can absolutely do it.
Right.
So I hope that if a Kodiak Sitka blacktail hunt is something that anybody's interested in, I just hope that if that's something they want to check out that guide, that it'd be that boost, like you're saying, get them there. You know?
So give me a paragraph as to why you like Kodiak so much, because I've heard you talk about it. I've heard you talk about flying over it, and you love it. So what is so special about Kodiak Island?
Oh, man. I don't know. My very first hunt in Alaska was on a Kodiak Island brown bear hunt.
Okay.
And so that was going back to my first year up there as a packer, which is like a underpaid human mule, where you're getting experience and a lot of guys who pack eventually will get their guide license. And that's kind of that's the road to getting your guide license.
Gotcha.
So I was just crazy fortunate to do my very first hunt in Alaska on a Kodiak Island brown bear hunt. And from that moment on, from that first flight over the island and just looking at how beautiful that island is, how wild it is, and realized I was going on a Kodiak Island brown bear hunt as a packer, getting paid to do it, just blew my mind. And every experience I've ever had on the island since then has just reinforced that feeling of how incredible, how wild it is, how well managed it is by our national refuge system.
Mm-hmm.
And just the experience there. I mean, people talk about the weather being crappy. I think the peninsula is worse. I've been sunburned in April on Kodiak. I mean, we've had, it's just a awesome place. And you have brown bears, Kodiak brown bears.
Giant
brown bears. And I just feel like, in my experience, I built the idea of Alaska up to these epic proportions in my mind. And it has never disappointed,
That's
ever,
good to hear.
not even close.
Yeah.
And Kodiak has never disappointed.
That's
It's a
cool.
special place.
So along those lines, talking about the giant that live on Kodiak. Have you ever had, what kind of crazy experiences have you had in your guiding trips? You know, have you had anything, close calls?
Is this a leading
nuts?
question?
What's
I've never told this story before.
I had a feeling there was something, but I've never asked you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. How much time do we have? Can I give you the what version am I
We
giving
got
you?
all the time.
We got all
in
the time in the world. Okay. Spring of 2012.
Okay.
There's two really good stories. Okay, I'll give you one, and then if we got time for the other one,
For sure. Let's do it.
Spring of 2012, I was guiding a hunt on the peninsula for an outfitter I'd never worked for before. I had actually just finished up a hunt on Kodiak Island. That's the second story if we have time for. And I hopped over the peninsula for a brown bear hunt. And we, last day of the season, had a bow hunter who, wanted a good bear. And so we found a big boar napping on a hillside.
Okay.
And I had a packer with me, and he spotted it, but he was watching through the spotting scope. And do you do this when you spot and stalk with another person? Do you have somebody sit back and watch and give hand signals?
Rarely.
Okay.
Rarely.
You're like always flying solo.
I am,
yeah.
so I don't.
Well, for bears, for people listening who don't know, bears move a lot, especially in the springtime.
Okay.
Always moving. And I would say it doubles your odds of success on a stalk on a bear to have somebody sitting back. That's Tana pulling a chair up to the table.
Yeah.
Hey, Tana.
Jerking chairs around and making noises.
Yeah. So we always try to leave somebody back in a spot and scope to give hand signals. So we left him there. We took off on this stalk after the bear, and we had to go up this valley, cut through a little alder patch, and he was in a grassy open spot about a mile from where we spotted him. So me and the bow hunter take off. We get to this side of the alders. We take off our boots. We're creeping as quietly as we can through these alders. And in the springtime, the alders are bare because they haven't leafed out yet. The ground's kind of crackly, and we're in our socks just going as quietly as we could. And I had already, we were stalking a brown bear with a bow, so I had already loaded a shell. And I was kind of at the ready just as, like I always would be for any hunt when we're closing the distance on a brown bear. But we got to the landmark where I'm like, we should be within range of this bear, and I can't see it anywhere. And I turned to the bow hunter behind me, and it as quietly as I could possibly whisper, like kind of just mouthing the words almost, I said, knock an arrow, knock an arrow. And right then I heard a big crash right up the hill, kind of as we were on a steep side hill, up the hill above us. And I was looking over my shoulder at him when I heard the crash, and I knew instantly that the sound was getting louder and not going away. Oh. And so I turned and lifted my rifle and flicked the safety off. So the first time I saw the bear was actually through my rifle scope, and it was just coming straight at us from a steep uphill angle, just full.
Holy smokes.
Like ears back.
How close is he?
Well, I think we were within 20 yards when he started charging. And it's like I could see his eyes. It was like they were looking. That's pretty
dang close.
It was pretty close. It was like he was looking at me through the scope.
Jeez.
And it was the first time I've ever been charged by a bear before. And I thought, well, first of all, this is close enough. I don't think I'm going to mess around with, is this a false charge or not? And then second of all, it went really slow. It was really wild.
Really?
Yeah. I just always wondered, there's a part of me where I knew that when I started guiding that there might be a time when I'd have to, be called upon in a situation like that to,
sure,
perform basically.
Yeah.
And you always kind of wonder, do I have what it takes kind of a thing?
Absolutely.
Am I going to embarrass myself or am I going to do what I need to do?
I remember doing that all the time when I was guiding for fishing, because we'd carry sawed-offs and, we'd be hiking through this giant tall grass and running up little tiny creeks loaded with sockeye and trying to catch rainbows, and there's bears always poking their head out.
Yeah.
And I remember all the time walking in front of my clients, hiking up this bear trail thinking, am I going to be able to do it, or what's going to happen? And just kind of replaying everything out as to how I hope it would happen. And always thinking about what exactly is going to play out if a bear does charge in, and am I going to be able to, man up and make it happen and do the right thing?
Yeah.
And not just tuck tail and run and get away from my clients and let them get chewed on.
Or just like piss your pants and freeze up. Right. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. It's a big deal. I mean, it's,
So he's coming, and I just remember like I had all the time in the world. I double checked my safety was off, and I'm watching him through the scope. And there was just a thick patch of alders from the angle that he was coming at us and that was blocking him. And I thought, well, I'm not going to shoot
through the alders.
In case it deflects a bullet. Now I've lost a shell and lost that amount of time.
Yeah.
So I waited what felt like several seconds. I think it was probably less than that for him to get around into an opening in the alders, and he was still just coming right at us. And the first shot, I saw it when he cleared. I shot, and I don't know why, but I aimed just under his chin and shot him like square in the chest, and the bullet came out right next to his tail, so full length. And it didn't knock him down or anything. He just turned slightly. Well, so that first shot was at 9 yards. We ranged it after the fact.
Abe, that's close.
That's pretty close. And I mean, let me tell you something. Like I can still see that bear running at us. Just, you know how they stretch out and just eat up that ground, like that motion. If his claws coming out and just raking underneath.
I can
that
picture
bunching
it.
And oh my gosh.
Jeez.
So first shot was at 9 yards, and he just turns slightly and runs by right in front of us, less than 5 yards away. And I jacked another shell in, and as he ran by, he was broadside, and I just swung and popped one right behind his shoulder. I didn't catch his shoulder because I didn't break anything.
And how close is he at that point?
Less than 5 yards.
Less than 5 yards.
Yeah, he literally just ran right by in front of us.
Obviously, that first shot probably put a world of hurt on him.
But he didn't phase him.
Didn't phase him.
Didn't go down, didn't slow down. He just turned a little bit. Second shot went through both lungs, just right behind the shoulder, and he just kept running down the hill. So at this point, now it's like, okay, I just shot a bear, but he's not dead. Now I just have to, my job is to kill him. Like whether a hunter shot him or not, there's, as a guide, I have the responsibility to make sure like he doesn't just run away and die somewhere we can't find him. Bears are tough. Brown bears are tough. I mean, they can literally soak up a lot of lead and run over the mountain, and very difficult to find sometimes. So we like to shoot them until they're dead.
And your client at this point is doing what?
Standing there.
He's just standing there.
He's behind me.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could do. I mean, it would have been great if he could have shot the bear first.
That's good to hear. I mean, I was hoping to hear that, and he wasn't just running.
No, yeah, and he was cool. I mean, he stood his ground for sure, but it's like it happened fast, but like I said, looking through that scope, it didn't it was like time slowed down, and you hear people talk about stuff like that, but man, that was so true. I remember racking the bolt and just waiting for another good shot. And I know it happened like in the
9 yards, are you actually like looking down the scope, or are you kind of backed off and pointing at that point?
Good question. So my bear rifle, or my guide rifle is, well, first of all, after this hunt, I went home and told my wife that I need a bigger backup rifle. Yeah. But it's a 338 bolt action, and it has a Leupold 1.5 to 5 power scope. When that thing's cranked down on 1.5, I can see the last 8 inches of my gun barrel. Nice. I can point it at the ground at my feet and see everything in perfect focus.
Is that a common scope for guides up in that area?
It's fairly common, or that kind of
for
flavor.
The backup type thing.
Yeah, and actually at 5 power, I've shot deer with that rig out at 250. Sure. It's like, it's not that big of a hindrance. But anyway, yeah. So I could everything was in focus. I was definitely shooting through the scope.
Okay. And you consciously dropped it right below the chin.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Do you think?
I don't know why. I did. I remember picking a spot, and I just was like, well,
it looks right.
I think maybe part of it was like, if I miss and I don't get the brain, I don't know. I don't know what will happen. It's moving fast, and I didn't know, but I knew if I center punched the chest, it was going to go straight through because he was coming straight at us, and I was just thinking maximum energy, but in hindsight, if I could have easily shot him right between the eyes and just ended it right there. I don't know.
And you said everything slowed down, so
slowed way down.
Yeah. When did the shaking start?
After the fact. Yeah, so after that second shot, he was down the hill running past us, and I shot him again. And this tripped me up later because I shot him in the butt as he was running straight away, kind of at the same angle. And the entrance hole of that bullet was like 3 inches from the exit hole of the other bullet. And then the exit hole from that third shot was like 4 inches from the entrance hole. I mean, they both just crossed each other lengthwise. It was crazy. And then that tumbled him. And then he started to get back up again after that. And then I shot him. Then he was stopped and he was getting back up again. And I just shot him right in the back of the neck behind the skull. And just,
Such
that was
tough
it.
animals.
Yeah, so tough.
Holy smokes.
And then that's when, we realized that's when it's like, okay, because it's that fight or flight response. It's like, it's got to be tons of adrenaline and your mind slows down to process everything. And that's the first and last time since that I've experienced that. And it was wild.
Yeah.
But after that, I cried like a baby.
I was going to say,
it was emotional.
It's got to be hard. I mean, after that, you just got to be like, dang, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of it for me was I have a tremendous amount of respect for those animals. It's like, it was just being a bear.
Yep.
And for people who maybe don't know, when you shoot a bear in a situation like that, I did not have a tag. And even if I did, I cannot shoot an animal for myself when I'm a contracted assistant guide on a hunt. So that's what the state of Alaska calls a DLP, or defensive life and property.
Okay.
So the state gets that bear. If the hunter would have shot it first, then I could definitely have backed it up and everything would have been okay. The hunter would have kept the bear, but not because I shot it first.
Gotcha.
So for me, part of it was like I had this sense of sadness that it went that way. Like I didn't want to kill the bear. The only reason we wanted to kill that bear was for the hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Now nobody gets the bear. The state gets the bear. And I just felt like we took a life that we didn't. It just didn't go the way we wanted it to go, and the bear was just being a bear. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was, I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but it was hard for me because I definitely take it seriously.
Because, you were on this trip with the guy, and I don't know if you were successful after that with him, but you walked away from that without the tag filled, but an animal lost its life.
Right. And the big thing for me was that the animal lost its life, and we didn't utilize it. Like it didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel a tremendous amount of respect for the animals that I hunt. And that bear died, and everything went to the state to be auctioned off. And I just felt like that's okay. Like that's an okay thing to happen, But it just didn't have to die. Like it almost felt like it died in vain a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense or not for other people, but man, that's how I felt. So.
And how was the process after the fact with the state and all that?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, there's paperwork, and then I had to give a statement over the phone to a state trooper. But they have, X number of DLPs a year, and as long as everything lines up pretty well, they don't give you any grief. I mean, they just know that bears are bears, and they get into stuff, and they charge people, and it just happens.
It's just bound to happen on occasion, not very often.
So there was some paperwork involved. I tried to buy the bear hide. It was a nice boar. About a 9.5 foot boar, and beautiful, beautiful hide, just really gorgeous. And they sell them at the rendezvous, or the fur auction at the rendezvous in Anchorage in the wintertime. And I had a buddy up in Anchorage to go, and I couldn't afford it, man.
Somebody outbid you.
It was the highest hide that year. Yeah, bear hide.
Shoot. Dang.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy story.
But I came home, and my wife was just like, she's terrified of bears.
Yeah.
And she was not happy to hear that story. I called her first, and I was like, babe, I'm telling you over the phone so you don't smack me when I get home. You can take some time and let the story sink in and what happened. But I'm fine. Yeah. So, yeah, we did not get a bear. That was the last day of the hunt.
It was.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had, that's about as crazy of a story as it gets, but you had another one? Like another experience?
Yeah,
was
not
that back in 2012?
Yeah, it was like the hunt right before it. It wasn't a close call, but it was like one of the coolest stories ever, and I'll just try to tell it briefly. Kodiak Island brown bear hunt, we had a client who wanted a 10-foot bear or nothing, and this was his third hunt with the same outfitter. And just a really cool guy, older gentleman, and he just knew he wanted a 10-foot bear, and he was happy to hunt for 15 days and go home and put down a deposit on another hunt, and he'd done this a couple times already. So my hunt, I was going to guide a hunt that spring on Kodiak, and the lake was frozen, And actually, it had gone through, the thaw freeze cycle, so it was like all the ice on the lake was all jumbled up, so he couldn't even land on skis or anything like that because it was, you know what I'm talking about, like it gets all jagged and stuff.
Yeah.
So that hunt, the outfitter canceled that hunt that I was going to do. So I just went down and we basically had 2 guides, me and another guy, for this guy who wanted this 10-foot bear. And this outfitter, I just respect him a tremendous amount because he books these 15-day hunts, and all of his guides are trained really well and know how to judge bears and have a good system for hunting. It was just a really good operation. And with 2 guides on that hunt, man, we were having a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Because it's like normally you're doing it by yourself or you have a packer that's kind of inexperienced.
Sure.
This was a lot of fun, though. So we were guiding this hunt, and it was like we were seeing a lot of very big bears. But it's so difficult. It's so difficult, Ryan, to say that is a 10-foot bear, guaranteed.
I can imagine.
There's no horns on them. It's like
bears are hard to judge. I don't have any familiarity with brown bears, but I just know how black bears are, and they're super hard to judge.
Yeah. I tell people it's like seeing a lab out in a field like half a mile away and trying to tell how much it's going to weigh close to the nearest pound.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you do that? It's very difficult.
Yeah, so going from a 9.5 to a 10.
Yeah.
That's tough. What's the trick to that?
A lot of experience, a lot of time behind the optics, and then with somebody who knows how to do it, and then a lot of time walking up on bears and taping them out.
Yeah.
But so we finally found a bear. We were taking a rain day, it was just crappy weather, and on like day 5. And afternoon, it started to let up a little bit, it was just sprinkling, and I just walked outside of the wall tent, and it was just kind of stuffy in the wall tent. I was needing some fresh air. And I throw up my binoculars and I start glassing, and there on the hillside, like a couple miles away, is this huge bear. Actually, there was 3 bears. There was a sow, a younger boar, and this monster. Really big bear. So immediately, I holler to the guys, and I get the other guide out, and we get the spot and scope out. We're both looking at that bear, and we're like, that's got to be a 10. It's like there's never a guarantee.
Sure.
We're both pretty sure that was a 10-foot bear. So he grabbed the hunter, and they took off, and I followed them, and so what happened is that they ended up shooting that bear. But like I said before, bears can get hit hard and run. And this bear did that. He got hit hard. The client hit it. The guide hit it. And then it was up and over this ridge and gone. So the client was older, and he was not in good shape to, go running over ridge after this bear. So Jake and I, the other guide, and I, we took off looking for it. And actually, Jake was ahead of me because, like I said, we like to leave somebody back behind on the stalk to give hand signals in case the bears start moving and you lose them. So I was the one that stayed back on that one. So I was a little bit behind him. Jake caught up to him, and so I'm watching him, and he's crawling up on that bear, and that bear's laying down, and it's laying on the edge of this, like the top of this ridge is what it looks like. And he starts shooting it, and then that bear just disappeared. And I'm watching through the spot and scope, not very far away, but just on the other side from a cut from him. So once it was gone, I was like, well, shoot, okay. I went and caught up with him, and we talked a little bit. But anyway, when I walked up to where that bear was, man, he was on the edge of a cliff. And he fell 100 feet into the ocean.
Oh.
And there were rocks at the base of the cliff that were like the size of a Volkswagen or something. Like these huge jagged rocks, and the surf was coming in.
Right.
And just crashing against these rocks, and we could see that bear down there just bobbing around in the ocean.
Smokes.
This is a giant bear, and this is the bear that this client has come, 3 trips to Alaska to try to find. And we got him, and he's like bobbing around in the ocean like a piece of flotsam. And we go down there. Jake went down there and tried to tie him off to a rock. And we went back the next morning, man, and he was gone.
Oh, no.
And so we were like, oh, my gosh, what are we going to do?
How did it come off?
Well, he just had like ganglion cord, just like cord, like lightweight
just snapped it?
cord. Oh, yeah. The surf. Well, you got a huge bear. I mean, I don't know how much these things weigh. I've never seen one on a scale. People throw around numbers, but I would say somewhere around 800, 1,200 pounds. I mean, I don't know. A 10-foot bear is a huge animal. And it's tied with cord to jagged rocks while the surf is just bashing into the rocks.
The jagged rocks.
Yeah.
The keyword.
So we ended up finding it the next day, washed up high and dry on the beach.
Oh, wow.
And that was like the craziest emotional like roller coaster ride of we found this awesome bear, and we killed it, and then we lost it to the ocean. And then we go out there and we're hunting around for it for a couple of hours, just thinking like we may never see this bear again, and then to spot it laying up in the rocks high and dry was just
Holy smokes.
amazing. But it was a huge bear.
So
I got pictures of it on Instagram.
So did he meet that goal of?
Yeah, it went
10
like
feet?
10-2 or something like that.
Dang.
It was huge.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, when a bear like that looks like a big cow laying down. I mean, when you get a big bear and they're laying on their side and it's like hip high, standing next to it. It's like when people say I got a couple of comments on social media like, yeah, it's because you're standing 10 feet behind that bear, and it's like, well, technically the camera's in front of his nose and we're standing with our knees touching its butt, so yeah, that's about 10 foot from its face. I mean, they're big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. It's I don't know. I've never had I don't know why. I love bear hunting. I love black bear hunting. I love it in the fall, just hunting my home state of Washington. But I've never had the bug or the urge to go chase a brown bear. I don't know why that is. I know a lot of people have, but
Yeah, I never really did before. It seemed so out of reach.
but now that you've seen it,
Oh my gosh.
you want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll never hunt. I'm never going to hunt an Alaskan over-the-counter tag that's a bear every 4 years. So they have these certain areas that's like you can only hunt or shoot a bear every 4 years in these certain units.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to keep putting in for a Kodiak tag, for a specific tag that's in the draw system. Because if you shoot a bear in one of those 4-year areas, then you can't put in for the draw for another 4 years.
Okay.
So I'm just like, nope, we'll do a brown bear hunt with the boys or something like that. I'm just going to wait and try to draw a tag that's like 1 in 100 odds, you know? So
Yeah. Dang.
it's special.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. I've just never got that feeling like that's something I want to go chase down. I know a lot of people love it, and that's like one of the ultimates. It's the ultimate goal, right, for a lot of folks, because they're just so impressive.
Yeah. Well, the guy I'm working for right now, Jeremy, he shot one, I think last year or 2 years ago, he shot a bear in close to the same area on Kodiak that bear fell off a cliff. It scored 9'11", and he shot it with his compound at like 23 yards or 25 yards. Yeah.
Holy cow.
And he's got video of it. That's a beautiful big boar, huge boar.
Jeez.
But for people listening, here's something about bears really quick is there are not 10-footers like crawling all over Kodiak Island. I mean, they're there, but it's not like you plan a hunt and you get a guided hunt and you're going to shoot a 10-foot bear.
Sure.
Not even close.
Sure.
There's seasons where we don't see a 10-foot bear. I mean, it's like a 200-inch muley or a 220 muley.
I was going to say,
It's
what
huge.
would the numbers be equating
Yeah.
that to a deer and an elk? 200, 400?
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very, and even if you see one, especially in the springtime, man, they just move so much. They're so hard to get on. Odds of a successful stalk are low compared to other animals, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging hunt, but it's it's like, to me, it would be like the epitome of a North American wilderness fair chase adventure hunt. I mean, to me, that's it. Sheep are awesome. I love sheep hunting.
Sure.
But bear has an added element of risk
Yeah.
that sheep doesn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Two things. Oh, my daughter is asking for some
What do you
elk
want, Tana?
sausage.
Heck yeah.
She is a little elk sausage connoisseur. She loves that stuff.
She comes by
You
it
good?
honest. Good job, Tana.
Right on. Well, cool. Yeah, I think, like I was saying, the sheep thing as well. I don't know why. Something's wrong with me, Abe, because I know everybody's got the sheep bug. I mean, I talked to Zach Kenner. He's got the sheep bug. You've got the sheep bug. I mean, everybody wants to go hunt them, and so many people do. And I don't know if it's because I've never drawn. I've just never had that either. It's like mule deer and elk and
Yeah.
fall bears, but I've never had that bug either. So I
Do it
don't know.
once.
It's probably right.
Yeah.
Once I do it.
I wasn't thinking about sheep at all,
Yeah.
when I first started hunting in Alaska. And it
So
was
have
because
you hunted sheep yourself, or has it all
No.
been guided?
And I
Okay.
haven't guided a sheep hunt either yet. This will be my first year. Packed for several. And then when I started guiding, I was just focusing more on bears, and that's just the way it worked out.
Mhm.
Guiding industry is kind of crazy. The work sometimes can be hard to come by, and it's all in a short season, and it can be nuts. But But it's good, man.
Yeah.
It's good to be on the mountain and getting paid to be there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The sheep are special, though. They really are. But I think you and I both have an affinity for mountain goats, which is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated species in Alaska or anywhere. Mm-hmm. They're so cool.
I know, and that's the thing. I do have the bug for that completely. Yeah. And I think maybe it's just because where I hunt deer and elk, I'm always seeing them. I'm always like observing them, watching the places they're in and trying to just picture the stalk I would make with my bow, try to get up on these giant billies. And that I want. That is my ultimate bucket list hunt right there. I just want to get one, and hopefully, we've talked about some hunts up north, but I want to draw that in my home state just because I've seen them so many places, and we've got a lot of billies. We've got a lot of goats in our state, but
yeah, we do.
Tags are very, very hard to come by, like every state down here.
Yeah. I remember having that in common with you early on when we met was like, I love hunting mule deer in goat country.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. It's like getting up where the goats are and then looking for bucks and in the rocks and nasty stuff.
Even elk, there's places, and you're up there early season and you're seeing you're seeing a lot of elk up in the chutes, and you're seeing billies like right amongst them, like 10 feet away from these giant elk. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Washington's a cool place, actually. It's like it doesn't
again, underrated, but we do have some phenomenal little slivers of country that not a lot of guys are really privy to. So, feel fortunate to be able to hike around these mountains and see it. But yeah, someday it's goats. I mean, I got a lot of points in Washington. I still may never draw it.
Yeah,
but
you still need to come to Alaska, man.
I know. That may be my only opportunity.
You need to come up to Alaska and shoot a goat, and then you'll draw the tag in a Washington after that.
Most likely.
No, that's one of my first goals when I get residency is shooting a goat with my longbow. So it might be a couple of years before I get one. I'm not sure, but
that's right. You would go after them with the longbow. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. I'm a big time nerd. I just find weird things to get excited about, and that one, Kodiak Island goat with a longbow for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So real quick, I just want to get a little bit more out of you as far as some of the hunts that you've done.
Yeah.
On a personal level, like not guiding, but in other states. I know you've done some things in Idaho. I think you did some, bear hunts and whatnot. But as far as big game, what other hunts are you really excited about and that you've done here in the States? I know I've talked to you on occasion, you've taken the boys out, the kids out hunting, but what excites you down here?
Yeah, so since I've moved to Alaska, I've discovered like being human and having human flaws is sometimes the most ridiculous thing. Because I moved to Alaska, as soon as I get residency, I can hunt all these amazing animals in the most beautiful places. And it's Alaska, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And then I find myself going like, I'm going to miss elk hunting. I got to plan a trip back to the lower 48 and do an elk hunt. So no, I mean, for me, it's like, I'm not a badass hunter. I'm not anything special at all. I'm not even like among Alaskan guides. I'm nothing special at all. Like not by any stretch of the imagination. I have spent most of my time hunting with my kids. I'm just a normal guy who just really loves this stuff and has made life decisions to get to do crazy things like guide and move to Alaska and marry the right woman. And
big steps, yeah.
Yeah, but I love taking my kids hunting. And for me, getting out by myself versus taking one of my kids hunting, a lot of times I choose to take my kids hunting. In the 2016 season, I hunted 3 days for one of my tags with a longbow on elk. Had a couple close calls and didn't get it done.
Need a few more days with a longbow.
I could have used a few more days. So honestly, like I don't have a big bull or a big bull at all on my own, even though, in certain hunts that I've done with the kids, where they've got a cow tag or something like that, we've been, right up on big screaming bulls and in areas where we can't hunt them. And
sure.
So having those experiences is super special. But one of these days I got to get a big bull for myself.
For sure.
But my kids have done some fun. We've had some awesome memories, and those are the ones that I think I'll remember forever. It's like our last fall in Washington, so 2016, both my boys filled their cow elk tags with a muzzle loader. That was fun.
And your oldest is 14?
He's 14 this year, so it would have been, I guess, 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his little brother is 11.
I've heard he's got giant ambitions of basically following his dad's footsteps.
Both of them do. Malachi, my oldest boy, who's 14, he wants to be a fly fishing bum
Yep.
/ guide. I think bum comes first. And he's kind of on his way to do that, after this podcast I was telling you about.
It sounds like he is loving it. He loves every part of it. I mean, he's really into it. Just immersed himself into it.
Yep, and he might have an opportunity for an internship this summer with a lodge on the peninsula. So hopefully that comes through and he gets to fly out for a few weeks and get on the water.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, his mind's like going to be blown. And then Josiah, who's 12 now, his dream, the last I heard, was to become an elk hunting guide.
Okay.
Now that we moved to Alaska, I don't know if that'll change in the future or not.
It might go.
But it might stay because...
What if he says brown bear guide on Kodiak?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't know if his mom will be. But no, Josiah, he's a go-getter. And he started elk hunting when he was 8 or 9. And he's putting in like 10-mile days hanging with the guys. And he's a scrappy, crazy kid. And he worked really hard for 3 years before he got his first elk.
No, that's perfect.
And he never wanted to hunt. He had no interest in hunting deer or kind of anything else.
Really?
He's just like, Dad, I just like elk.
Elk is the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. So.
Well, I like hearing that. Took him a few years, too.
Yeah.
I almost hate hearing that somebody went out on their first hunt and shot a big old giant 4-point buck or big old bull.
Malachi he shot his first elk on his first hunt, like second day of the hunt.
Did he?
So, yeah.
And he's still addicted, so it still works out.
Yeah, it still works out for sure. No, I just love getting my kids out there. And it's crazy, Ryan, and I know you know this from experience with Paley, but they can do so much.
Oh, I know. I mean, it kind of blows your mind. Like, my daughter was 8 on her first hunt with me, and geez, you kind of just think, I don't know if they can go that far. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're capable of. I don't know how they're gonna react. On these. That wasn't an extended trip, but it was a long trip. And weather and everything, and she I think if you treat them right and you obviously pack a little heavy on your side, give them some little comforts, and just show them a really, really good time. I mean, keep a smile on their face the whole time. They just keep going because they keep enjoying it.
Yeah.
And having these things like the berries and whatnot just to kind of distract them from the agony of hiking so far. It really worked out with Paley, and she impressed the heck out of me. And it's so cool to watch your kids kind of grow into that and just be so impressed by how far they can go and that they really like to do it.
Yeah. So. How cool is it to take them into the backcountry though? Like the wilderness. Like I saw the pictures you put up of that black bear hunt with Paley.
Sure.
And she killed me because she was wearing that leopard print.
Oh yeah, that was her camo.
That was awesome. Oh my gosh, I loved it.
She's a little eclectic, but
that's perfect.
She loves that sweatshirt, and honestly, it blended in very well.
I bet it did. No, that was so cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love. I mean, that's why we're here at BHA. Just to kind of bring it back to the rendezvous, and what we're doing here is all the best experiences that I have had in life have centered around or been on public lands and public water. I mean, that's how I grew up.
Yep.
And that's definitely what I'm doing with my kids and making memories with them. And gosh, I just couldn't imagine life without that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the scary part. If we didn't have it, who knows what our kids would be able to experience, or if it would just be so hard to get access to places. And, I have no doubt in my mind if we didn't have it, I don't think we'd have hunting for that many years in the future. The pay-to-play thing can only last so far. So, no, it's super, super, super important for the future of our kids. And, access is everything. If we're going to keep this thing going, we got to have access. And I think that's like the number one issue with people is it sucks when you drive around and everything's private. But it's so nice to know that there's going to always be places where you can go, take your kids. Maybe it's a little crowded, but still you're still out there and you're still able to, put a ton of miles on in great places. And you don't have to pay for a fee to get through that gate and go do it. And access hasn't been denied yet. So
yeah, I mean, for me, and especially having worked that corporate job and sat at a desk and kind of done that 9-to-5 type thing and then been doing the weekends and 2 weeks of vacation a year, it's like I just remember so many times parking the truck and getting out and grabbing my backpack, and it was like my soul felt free for the first time. Just knowing that I could walk and keep walking, and I was in the mountains, and I could just keep going and get above timberline and just go in any direction, and it was all mine to play on.
Right.
And like that was a feeling, deep within me, where my soul was just unlocked, and it only feels that free when I'm, since the last time I was there at that place, or a place like that. It's like something about that for me really hits me at a deep level.
Yeah.
And it's irreplaceable. I mean, it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've been so fortunate to have it like our whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
I've grown up around it. That's all I've ever hunted. I've never had access to private or anything like that. I've never paid a fee. I've never been guided, Abe. Maybe I'll be guided by you someday, hopefully on a blacktail trip.
Well, I don't think you need my help, man. I'll just follow you around and learn a few things.
But we've been super fortunate, and all those good experiences you get to have up there on that public land. It's just undeniably one of the best things in life, and without it for the kids, like I say, what are we going to have? Not that many years ahead of us, I don't think. I think it's just going to be. It's going to slowly dwindle and go away. If all of a sudden it becomes a rich man's game and we're having to pay these giant access fees, because the numbers are just going to go up. I know around, my place, Western Washington, there's so many big areas that we used to hike into. I used to take my daughter down, and we used to have access to just kind of walk through the gates and at least go and walk down to the river and all these places. And just in the last few years, everything has been fee-based. So,
is that forest, managed forest land?
It's timber companies. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, massive areas of land. And, it used to be open for guys to just go up and fall bear hunt or blacktail hunt or whatever. And every year it's just gotten worse and worse. Now there's a gate everywhere. There's no gravel roads that you can just go hop on around me.
Yeah.
Where you can just go drive back and, have a great experience. It's just not there. It's not in the cards anymore. Mm-hmm. And that is something very new from when I grew up there. And now, you got to buy a key and you got to go through, and the fees keep getting more expensive and more expensive. And I hate to think of what it's going to be like in 20 years. Because if the public land is gone, all these people that want to hunt and have, a place to go do it, naturally those prices are going to go up, right? I think that's just unquestionable. And it's sad and scary in a way, because, where are we going to take the kids?
Alaska.
Alaska. Unless,
come on up, man.
Unless
buy that van.
My doctor wife all of a sudden makes a ton of money, and key fees are no big deal.
I have a hard time believing you'd be happy hunting on managed private timber land.
It's a weird, it's a weird thing. And
there you go.
Boom. Hillary is now on the podcast.
Hello.
She's probably going to tear me apart for something.
I never tear you apart. The only thing I tear you apart for is just sit up straight and talk louder.
She's been...
Because I just got a complaint on Instagram story. Why doesn't Ryan ever talk loud? I can't hear him when I'm doing my cardio. So.
I know. Same thing. I'm a sloucher and I don't project my voice.
Hey, I try, everybody out there. I try, please. For over a year now, I've been trying.
Dude, was it an Insta story when you were harping on him about that? That was cracking me up.
Oh, no, that was...
or was that just a post, like a video post?
On our Instagram post. So we did we started a big video project that we are working on for another thing, and we recorded video, and of course you get tons of video and most of the video you get or audio is just not usable. But when I was editing the video, I was watching that going, oh my gosh, that is so funny. I was just laughing to myself. So
I was sitting in
it's fun to post
the abuse
the bloopers
that I take every single day.
She's so abusive.
At least a few people can see it now.
Well, luckily he's pretty chill. He's just whatever. He just goes with the flow. I can take her
jabs and punches now. We've been married 20 years.
Yeah. So, no, I'm not going to rip on you. What are you talking about? The moving
I
to
don't know.
Alaska?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
sitting
We're
in
just
my
rambling at this
cabin.
point.
What was it? I was working on the computer a few days ago, and Jessica is up there cackling, just in the corner, laughing her butt off. And she's like, "Look at this! Look at this!" And it's you two on Instagram. You're giving him a hard time. That was.
We
fun.
get more views on our bloopers than we do on anything else. So, it's like real life. But,
Yeah,
so
it's fun. I like on my podcast that I just started, and I didn't say that to try to plug it. I just I'm leaving in some bloopers and stuff because it's like I'm not trying to produce some kind of polished thing because there's no like that just sounds like way too much work.
Yeah. Well, I think in
know?
most of ours, you're going to hear our daughters laughing
yeah.
or, pulling chairs across the floor or, asking mama for something or pinching mama.
Yeah,
Oh,
There's a lot of
it's-
that.
yeah.
That's good.
Asking
though.
for water or food.
That's life.
I mean, that's like real life.
Yeah.
I think there's so many podcasts out there that if you just want straight questions, answers, the studio, it's beautiful. And that I would love that. But, for us, we're usually doing podcasting at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Our kids are still up running around like crazy. And that's just when we can do it. So,
Dinner's still on the table. Dishes aren't done.
yeah.
That
Well,
kind of stuff. Yeah.
you have 5, so you totally understand. Like I'm preaching to the choir here. But,
We've got
Yeah.
dinner on the table right now.
yeah, so I cooked
Torturing
dinner
us,
tonight.
actually. You just laid out
and
a
you
whole
guys are
pile
talking.
of food, and we have not been able to touch it. We got parsnip fries, stir fry.
Avocado.
Sirloin stir fry, avocado.
Jeff Lusk shot a Roosevelt elk. We're eating that up with some
Yeah.
stir fry. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were driving here from Boise. I mean, we were driving to Boise from Washington, and when you're in the car, it's kind of like that time where you're like a captive audience, right? So maybe there's things that you won't do every day that you need to do, but you're sitting in the car now. It's like, oh, okay, like watch that YouTube video or whatever. And we were watching stuff on food psychology and the brain, and just because stuff that I'm interested in, and maybe podcasting on here shortly. And they had a bunch of stuff on fast food, just talking about basically what fast food does to your brain and the different centers of your brain. And here we are, it's kind of late. We need to stop, and we pull into La Grande, Oregon, and it's literally like Dairy Queen, McDonald's, Taco Bell, like Burger King. There was just like 5 straight in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to the lady at the place. Is there somewhere to eat besides fast food? And she's like, well, yeah, but everything closes at 9. It's like 9:30, 8:35. So we go down the street and we get, I guess, what was considered a gourmet pizza or something that was supposed to be healthier.
It
But
said gourmet right on the front
It
of the
did.
restaurant.
Had to have.
it
Like,
pulls
we're
you
going
in,
there.
man. You're like, go in there. That looks healthy. But, it's like getting into Boise here. We think, oh, well, it's, we can go out to eat and socialize and do that stuff. But it's so nice to actually have a kitchen. Like the Airbnbs are awesome because you can cook a meal like you're at home. And boy, just go on YouTube and watch about the psychology of eating, and you just do not want to eat out anymore. So that's why I cooked this dinner tonight. We went to Fred Meyer. We bought some food. We cooked up some dinner.
Yep.
And it's like a healthy meal.
That's
from home.
awesome.
Much better way to go, for sure.
Yeah, eating out is rough.
You know what? I have looked down on people who camp with RVs and travel trailers and stuff like that my entire life. Because I grew up tent camping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when I go hunting, even if we're not hunting in the backcountry, we tent camp. Like, that's just, I don't need a trailer. So when we decided to move to Alaska, I was like, we maybe shouldn't rent a house right away since I don't know where the guide work's going to take me. Let's get a big trailer we can all sleep in. And then we'll be kind of like the turtle with the home on our back, And we hit the road. And I tell you what, I love trailer camping. Because it's like, there's a freezer and a fridge back there that run on propane. Did you guys know this? I didn't know this. There's food in its kitchen. It's a kitchenette kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would be driving, and I would drive till about 10, 11 o'clock at night, and all the kids would pass out in the back. We'd find a spot to pull over, chock the tires, drop the jacks, and in a couple of minutes I'm transporting kids to their beds. And then we just wake up whenever we wake up, and Jess would fire up the kitchen and make fried eggs and bacon and hash browns. We have this big hot breakfast right there in the camper. Eat up, do the dishes, make the beds,
Doesn't sound so bad.
Fold it up, jump in the truck, and start driving.
That's why everybody was
Oh
doing
my
it all those
gosh.
years, Abe.
I
So
know.
I have been, I think a long time ago on a podcast, we had this same discussion. I have been asking for a trailer or a camper for our whole entire relationship.
But
and Ryan is
I am like Abe. I don't know. I got a tent. I got a perfectly good, big, giant 6-man tent.
with no
it-
kitchen. And I remember a Train to Hunt 2 years ago in Oregon
It goes up
where
fast.
we were camped. So everyone around us has trailers, with maybe exception of a few people. They're like going in their trailer. It is a mud pit. It is raining, a mud pit. We have our kids,
That
and
was
our
bad.
older
There was
daughter is like,
sand
Paley's
everywhere. It's crazy.
running, and she's playing in the mud with her friends. Our tent was disgusting. It was so muddy. It was so wet. Clothes were everywhere. And I was like looking around at all these people in campers going, yeah, I want a camper. This is crazy. Everything was so wet. We had to pull it inside, the little thing.
I was looking around saying, yeah, my family is just tougher than that.
That, or we need one of those the big teepees now. Put the floorless teepee. I'd be cool with the floorless teepee because you don't have to take your shoes off. You can just walk in.
You
You
still
can like
tarp it on the
cook.
inside.
You can put a stove
Yeah, you
up.
got the stove too.
Yeah.
Man, those are
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, tent camping is great when you don't have kids and I don't know, maybe you're backpacking. But if you're driving across country, I feel like
I know.
camper
There's
would
still
rock.
some little seed in me that's like, don't
Well,
cave. Don't
here's
cave to
the
it.
deal. We'll pull the camper and you can take the tent out and you can set it up and sleep in the tent. And then you'll wake up in the morning, you have a big
That's-
breakfast made.
That means
from
I
the
still had to
camper.
invest in the camper.
How about I just buy one and bring it home? You didn't have to invest in anything.
I'd love to hear Jessica's perspective on this one, my wife.
Yeah.
'Cause she's kind of like you, Hillary. She's like, why are we doing She's actually a trooper about tent camping. She loves it, but sometimes she's like, why are we doing this tent thing? Her parents had a trailer for years, and
Yeah.
and they would camp in it, and she's like, that's so amazing. I just felt like I was giving into the dark side or something.
Yeah, exactly how I feel.
Now I feel comfortable on the dark side, especially with kids.
All
But you
of
don't.
you listeners on the dark side,
Yeah.
send us a message and say it's okay. You survived it.
Oh, jeez.
You're now in the light. You've
I
gone
think
to
you
the
put
light.
that out there before, and people gave me grief over it.
Well,
Buy a camper.
eventually his back will start breaking down at some point, and he'll be like, I don't want to sleep on that rocky ground.
Nope.
Oh.
No, I think you just die on the mountain trying hard. Don't let the back break down or the knees.
You know
Oh
what's
my
funny though?
gosh.
Ryan is really good. I mean, he can kind of sleep anywhere. He's talked about that before. Like sleep isn't an issue for him. So even in a tent or a baby sack or whatever the heck he's sleeping in, he sleeps.
Yeah,
I
and
don't.
if-
I'm like skinny and bony, and if I don't have a good pad, I'm so miserable in the morning. Like my shoulders hurt, my hips hurt. So I've never slept well unless we're really like packing it and I'm working hard. But even then, I still need a little padding. Like he's pretty good. Like he can just about sleep
yeah,
on
and
anything.
if I buy a camper, that'll probably go away. That little thing I have with being able to sleep
Well,
anywhere,
not
that
really,
toughness.
because you're not going to be doing backcountry hunts with your trailers, so you get plenty of that during the year.
Yeah.
Oh, you're done with this?
So Abe, what's coming up next for
What's
you?
that?
What's your plans for the next season?
Okay, I got some fun stuff.
Cool.
Flying down to Kodiak pretty soon when I get back after this. Actually, we're moving out of our winter rental, this cabin up in the mountains. It's been amazing. Oh my gosh, it's been so amazing. We're moving out of that back into the trailer for the summer. Jess and the kids have a goal of every single person in our family is going to catch one of all 5 salmon species. Malachi said he's going to do it on a fly rod.
That is such a cool
So,
goal.
we're
I
gonna-
love your family, man.
There it is.
That is
This
awesome.
That's Jessica's idea. She's
Yeah,
like, I
I
want a
could
goal
see
for
it.
this summer. I want something to look forward to.
Oh man, that's
So-
the best goal I've heard in a while.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Alaska in the summers, you just can't. It's amazing up there, so yeah, why not? I mean,
Yeah,
you don't really need to go anywhere else, and Alaska's the place
it's amazing.
in the summer,
What?
yeah.
And there's 5
It's
kids.
5 kids. It's going to be a lot of salmon.
That's a lot of salmon.
So I told her, I was like, okay, get a board, like a big collage board, and I want to see a picture of every kid with all, each of their salmon,
Yeah.
all 5 of them.
Yeah,
So
because you're going to be gone for.
I'm going to be gone for a lot of it. I'll be here for a lot of it. But
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing, guiding. I'll guide between 6.5 and 7 months this season,
Mm-hmm.
between spring and fall. including the sea duck hunting in the wintertime. That fills up all of January or all of December and all of January. So it's good. I'm earning money. That's a good thing. But when the hunting for myself, that's what gets really tricky because sheep season. I'm flying out for sheep season on August 8th, and I'm pretty much busy until the end of January.
Wow.
There's a couple little breaks in the middle, like 2 little ones.
So you're not going to get really any hunting in this season on your own?
Yeah, not much. I'm planning a caribou hunt in late July, early August.
Oh, gotcha.
And then we'll see what else I can scrape together. So I'm planning on being in the field probably 8 months this year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot
impressive.
of time. Well, we'll see how much of it I get to see my family because that's where it becomes a problem,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's got to be the hardest part of it. But boy, I'm gonna love talking to you after the season.
Yeah.
Getting some cool stories. Hopefully none like the previous, but
hopefully none.
You're gonna have some phenomenal stories anyway.
Got a couple Kodiak bear hunts coming up, and then another brown bear interior this spring.
Okay.
And then I'm working on a caribou guide for Alaska DIY.
Yeah, cool.
So the Kodiak Sitka Blacktail guide was like, here's a bite-sized piece like that I can bite this one off and it's like I can get this done. I felt like it was a manageable size. And also, honestly, it's the best first-time hunt for somebody to come to Alaska. It's just awesome.
Right.
That's why I did that one. But long-term, next is the caribou guide. It's going to be, logistically, it's 10 times as big as the blacktail guide because there's so many herds and there's so many different types of hunts across Alaska you can do. So for me, I've narrowed it down to actually about a dozen different hunts. That's a big project, and I'm working on that already. I've done a ton of research for it. So maybe, hopefully, later this year I'll have that caribou guide out, maybe like Q3, Q4.
Okay.
That's corporate speak.
Third, fourth quarter.
Yeah. It's still in there. I'm excited about that because I feel like there's a lot more interest from folks to do like the moose caribou thing, the more iconic Alaskan northern species than Sitka Kodiak black. I can't talk now. Then Sitka blacktail. That one's underrated, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's such a cool hunt, blacktail hunting.
Yeah, I want to do it. I hope to do it. I got no excuses except for just making the commitment, putting it on the calendar at this point.
Yeah, it's a good one. So I'm going to do that with my kids too on Kodiak.
Yeah, the best part is you can take 3 animals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I recommend, you know what? If you're listening to this and you want to come up and do it. I kind of recommend just grabbing 1 tag for your first hunt. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're coming with a buddy or 2. Because 3 deer tags, I mean, it's like, you can get a lot of quality hunting in. You can be a little pickier. You can totally get 2 or 3 tags. That's cool. It just ups the cost and the logistics and getting all that meat and those horns home.
Right.
And I explain that a little bit in the guide in terms of like if you really want to do this on a shoestring, you can have an awesome adventure with 1 deer tag, and it's completely worth every penny you spend on it and all the time that you spend coming up here. And you can tag on some fishing on the back end or some sea duck hunting.
Sure.
If you're later in the season.
When I gotta think it makes a lot more sense for 1 tag if you're like a bow hunter early season, right? Versus a rifle guy later.
Yes.
Maybe you're going up there just to get some of that high quality meat with the rifle, and you might want 3 tags because how much are you getting off a typical blacktail as far as poundage?
Yeah, 60, 70 pounds boned out meat.
And I've heard 80, it's like some of the best tasting.
It's the best deer
venison
that walks.
You can have.
Yeah, for eating quality. It's so good. It's so mild. It's amazing. It's more like elk than deer for just flavor.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we've been eating a lot of it this winter. It's good.
Cool.
So I want to get my boys out on Kodiak and get them. Actually, I have some younger kids too that are ready to hunt. So we got some work to do.
Malachi's going to get out there and he's going to all of a sudden switch to want to be a blacktail guide.
Yeah, he might. I don't know. He loves hunting, but you know how people are. Like a lot of times it's like you're a hunter first or a fisherman first, even though you do both. He's always been a fisherman first and foremost.
Yep.
He loves it.
Yep.
So we're excited for this year. And then after the caribou guide, man, I got to do a moose guide.
For sure. I mean, it fits the bill. If you're up in Alaska, you got to throw a moose guide in there.
Yeah, and then eventually black bear. So in the next 2 years, my plan is to crank out those 4 guides.
Gotcha.
And keep them updated. And then got plans for New Zealand.
Yep.
So it's called Alaska DIY because I couldn't think of a name.
All these hunts that are intimidating and you want to go do. And
yeah.
maybe you have to do Hawaii too.
It's on the list. Australia, Hawaii, South America. There's a long list, man. It's just, can I get it all cranked out?
It was so needed out there too to make these hunts easier for people. I think it's pretty cool.
I hope so.
So, where are guys going to find the guide first off, and how are they going to follow you?
Yeah, cool. So Hunt Alaska DIY is the website. HuntAlaskaDIY.com. So you can go there. The guide is $100 for the Sitka Blacktail guide, and it's like, I mean, this is the part of putting something out there for sale that it's like I always struggle with is like selling, right? I'm not a salesman at all, but I also believe in providing huge value. If I'm going to ask you to pay $100, like to be comfortable myself, I just have to know 110% that I'm providing more than $100 worth of value. And so for me to honestly be able to say, like, if you're interested in that hunt, you should check it out, I can honestly say that. You know, I've got tips in there, money saving tips throughout the guide, and it's like if you follow those, and you can save a few times the cost of the guide just on your first trip to Alaska. All the gear tips, you're going to go up and you're not going to have a negative experience if you follow the gear tips and you take the right gear. I give you so many links and phone numbers and very specific information on who to contact, what to take, what services are good. Services that I've used or somebody that I know and trust and have worked with in Alaska have used and recommended. So it's all been vetted.
Yeah.
And
what's your time worth, really? I mean, $100. How much time? I know how much time I've spent just researching and hitting walls, and then just kind of losing interest because I've hit walls, and it's just a bunch of time lost.
Yeah.
And like you say, the tips that you're going to get in the guide are probably going to save them the $100 and a lot more, probably.
Yeah, if you're thinking of paying yourself by the hour to plan a hunt like that, that alone will save you.
Right.
Yeah,
cool.
Save you that money. So, and then I already did a coupon for you guys, for your listeners. So it's still active. I'll double check it and make sure it's still active. But what it was? Do you guys remember what it was? I think it was HHH 20.
It was HHH 20.
Hunt Harvest Health.
Yes,
sir. That's what that stood for.
Yep. Cool.
So that's 20% off. So you get it for $80. So it's like a steal, basically.
It just became a steal.
It just became. But that's where you can find that. And then I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is Alaska_DIY.
Right.
And then Facebook is Alaska DIY. So
cool, man.
Yeah, check it out. If somebody's interested and they want to take a look at it, they can. And then I just started a podcast.
Yes, you did.
So that's been fun.
Yeah. I listened to your first one.
That's because it was, that's cool. It was with you over a year ago, which I still feel weird about sitting on that episode for so long, because when I edited it recently and listened to the whole thing again, it was like, man, that was such a fun conversation.
That was a fun conversation. We were sipping on maple water coffee into the wee hours of the morning. It was super cool.
That was fun.
And a long one, too. We talked for a while.
Yeah, I kind of am doing the long form podcast thing. So if anybody wants to check it out and you're not into long form podcasts, I just recommend playing it on 1.5 speed. That's how I do all mine. And it goes by a little bit quicker. But no, the stories that you told on that were so good. And I just feel like we need to sit down and do another one, because you've had so many adventures just in the last year.
Yeah, that was 2016, wasn't it?
It was like January of last year. So we were recapping the 2016
that's right.
season.
Yeah, I was going over the 16 season. Yep.
So good.
Cool.
But that's on iTunes now. Sorry, it's just Alaska DIY.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think you've got 2 out now. So.
Yeah. Yep.
And a few more in the bank.
Sitting on a few more, and hopefully going to crank some more out.
Looking forward to them.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down, telling those cool stories, man. That was good to hear. I knew there was a story in there that I've been waiting to get out of you, and there it is.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ryan. This was fun, man.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Abe.